A warm greeting to all. Today in this video we are going to discuss about properties of discrete Fourier transform. The very first property is periodicity property, and we all know the meaning for periodicity is the recurrence at regular intervals. So the repetition after regular intervals is nothing but a periodicity. So we all know if a input is x of n, it is in time domain. If you are going to apply DFT, we can get a discrete frequency signal, that is x of k. So now if the statement, suppose if you are going to repeat this input signal after a particular time interval, that is capital N, we have to get the same input x of n. Even after regular interval of n, we have to get the same input. So the same concept we can get in the frequency domain too. So x of k plus n, if you are going to repeat this x of k after a particular time frequency interval n, we can get the same value x of k. So this is the statement for periodicity. Now we'll see the proof for this periodicity. So this is a general formula for DFT. Now what we are going to do is we are going to add some periodicity regular interval, that is capital N, and now we can replace the value of k in the general formula as k plus n, and we can split into two terms, and we know the formula, that is e power minus j 2 pi n is 1. So it is the a periodic value of 2 pi. So we can substitute the value of n from 0 till n, right? So we'll get this value as 1. So we can write this x of k plus n is equal to k. So it obeys the periodicity property. So the next property is linearity property, and we all know we have to take two inputs and we have to add these two inputs with some constants, and after adding these constants together, and the output also has to be, we should not change with respect to the addition of these constants, multiplication of constants and the addition of two signals. It means the meaning of this addition will not get varied. So we all know, so for x1 of n, we can take x1 of k as DFT, and for x2 of n, x2 of k as DFT. So now this is a proof for this linearity property. So here the input signal is a x1 of n plus b x2 of n, and we can split into two terms, and this is looking like a is a constant, so we can take out of the summation, and it is looking like the discrete value, that is a general formula. So we can write this as x1 of k and this as x2 of k. So this DFT is, also is obeying linearity property. Next to periodicity, it obeys linearity property. Circular symmetries of a sequence, and now we are going to discuss the periodic extension of a sequence. So we can write this periodic extension of a sequence x of n as x of n minus ln, and we can write this periodic extension in terms of x of n as it is a function of x of n is a function of xp of n for n varies from 0 to n minus 1. So now again we are going to delay this periodic extension of a sequence by value called k. So we are advanced this periodic extension of x of n, and you can write this xp in terms of x of n, and now we can define this x dash of n as a periodic extension, and again you can write this x dash of n as x of n minus k minus ln, and we can write this as x of n minus k and modulo of n, and this is called as a circular shift of a sequence. And another property is time reversal of the sequence, and so if suppose if you are having usually we used to discuss about x of n. If you are going to reverse with respect to x-axis, that we called as time reversal. So we are having x of minus n, and if you are going to take a modulus of this time reversed sequence, we can write this as x of n minus n. So x of minus n of modulo n, we can write as x of n minus n. And if you are going to take a DFT for this sequence, we can write the same x of we will get x of n minus k, and this x of n minus k we can write it as x of minus k and modulo of n. And next is symmetry property, and x of n minus k is equal to x conjugate of k. And next is circular frequency shift. We all know the frequency that it is x of n e power plus 2 pi n by n. It is in the discrete inverse form, and if you can write, you can get this write this as x of k minus l in modulo of n. And here in DTFT we have discussed the linear convolution, whereas in DFT we are going to discuss about discuss about the equivalent of linear convolution. Here the equivalent of linear convolution in DFT is circular convolution, and this is a formula. It's just a multiplication of two a frequency domain signal. So here this is what we have done. So for indicating the circular convolution, we are denoting this by this symbol capital N enclosed by a circle. So these are all the list of properties, discrete Fourier transform properties. And another important property is Parseval's theorem, and you can have a glance on this one. So now we'll see the important concept, that is circular convolution in discrete Fourier transform. So the first thing is we have to for circular convolution we need two inputs, right? So first input we can take it as x of n, and second as h of n, and the x of n is having L number of samples and h of n as m number of samples. And now we'll see the difference between linear and circular convolution, and we can find the length of the output, the capital N, as the addition of these two, and we have to subtract by minus 1. So this is the formula for finding the total length of the output sequence. So in last unit we have discussed as n1 plus n2 minus 1. So instead of n1 and n2 we are having this as L and m. So L plus m minus 1. This is the formula for finding total length in linear convolution. But whereas in circular convolution we have to ensure the condition is the sample value, that is length of first sequence should always be greater than the second sequence length. So L always greater than m. So we have to ensure this condition, and now we can find, if you want to find the total length of the output, this is the formula. We have to get the maximum of L comma n. So we have to take the maximum length of we have to compare the length of the two sequence, and we have to pick up the maximum value in order to fix the length for the output. And this linear convolution is used to find the response of the filter, and whereas we cannot use circular convolution directly to find the response of the filter. We can apply this circular convolution to find the response of the filter only after applying zero padding. So zero padding in the sense we have to add L minus n zeros to h of n. So it means we have to match the values, the length of the second sequence to the first sequence. So we have to add L minus m zeros to the second sequence. So after doing such zero padding only, we can use this circular convolution to find the response of the filter. So these are all the difference between linear convolution and circular convolution.